Hello everyone and welcome back to Irish Health Hour Chats. I'm extremely excited today by the guest we have. Today I'm speaking to Dr. Darria Long Gillespie, and she's a mother, a doctor, a TV personality and an author. You're welcome, Dr. Darria.
Thank you so much, Dolores. It's an honor and a pleasure to join you today.
Oh, it's so great. It's great. It's great to have you to share because you have so much stories to tell us. I barely know where to begin. But I am going to begin by asking you, I guess, working as an emergency department physician, how has your journey evolved into all the work that you do and your wonderful website with its health hacks, etc.? If you could start with maybe letting us know a little bit about that involvement.
Yes, absolutely. Dolores, that's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. And the reality is, when you're working in the emergency department, you never know what's going to be coming in. It could be a stroke or a car accident or a heart attack or a woman in labor and you're delivering her baby. You never know. And you have to have this capacity to look at those ER doors and say, whatever comes in those doors, I've got this. And we don't do that by magic or some superhuman powers. We do that because we are trained and we're giving the system and the protocols so that you are capable of doing that. And when I was in residency, I had my own health scares, and I'm sure we'll probably get to that in a minute. But I realized that how was I so in control in the emergency department, but not in my own health? And I just was entirely out of control there. So I decided, these skills from the emergency department, these hacks and these protocols and these finding solutions to do the most you can when there is this much time, that's transferable to life. That's where all of this came from. That's why I started looking into hacks in the first place. And a second note is that, I was at the time was the swine flu epidemic and seeing how and you and I talked about this the other day, how, I don't know how it is in Ireland, but when it's covered on the news, a lot of times it's pretty scary to people, and wanting to get the message out to people before they came to see me in the emergency department.
And that's so fantastic because, yes, we do rely on the news for, obviously on what we hear. And as you said, the word scaremongering and that, because, our health, and especially as mothers, now our health in relation to ourselves and our parents as well. But I think when you have become a mother and a parent, there's that, I don't know, it's just, it gets your heart when you hear all these things. Yeah, sure. And I mean, I love that.
You worry about everything, right? As a mother, everything is scary.
It's another thing for us to think about. But I love the fact that you say that, and how you transferred those systems that you have, as you say, the protocols, the hacks that you use. You've actually designed hacks that are transferable from this high stress environment to help us, not alone as moms, but just in general in our life, to to look at our health, and that stemmed out of your own health issue as well.
Yes, so exactly. So I'd always been really healthy. I never had any health problems at all. And then suddenly I had a couple of health problems back to back. One was I suddenly out of the blue developed an ovarian cyst, and they had to take me to surgery, which I thought would be okay. And I awoke and they had to take out the entire ovary. So just like that, I lost it. And kind of was told, like, this is kind of the way it's going to be. You'll probably have more problems like this. This is going to be an issue for you for life. And then several months later, I suddenly started developing painful joints. And I would wake up in the morning and my feet and my ankles would be swollen. They'd be red. My toes were swollen and red. My hands were swollen and red. And I'm a runner. I ran track and cross country. My 3 miles a day is my sanity saver. And I also grew up playing, I trained in college classical piano, so I couldn't do anything. My hands were so swollen. So I was at Yale at the time. I'd seen a rheumatologist there. We didn't know exactly what was going on. I went to Boston to get a second opinion, and in the 2-hour drive, and anybody who's listening who has any sort of autoimmune arthritis, they know that after you've been still, the pain tends to be worse. So I'd been driving still in my car for 2.5 hours. I got out, and I was in so much pain that I didn't realize, I left my car unlocked, and I didn't realize until I was about 50 feet away, but the pain was so bad, I just didn't care. Like for the first time in my life, I just remember thinking, like, I don't care. Let somebody steal it. Like my pain was just so bad. So they ended up putting me on some different medications, and in the end, I ended up going on an immunosuppressive medication, giving myself a shot twice a week, which took care of my symptoms. But now I have this other thing. I want an immunosuppressive medication. I'm trying to take care of patients who have pneumonia and the flu, and some of them have tuberculosis. And I didn't want to be on that for life. So I figured, it's beautiful that we have these medicines in Western medicine. Like I am absolutely pro that. I'm not saying you should ever avoid those. I was thrilled that my symptoms were at bay, but I wanted to know if there was something better. And so I started doing some of my own research. And this is where I started saying, okay, how can I do some hacks? And I remember somebody telling me, that'll never work, when I told them some of the different dietary changes I was making, which to an emergency room doctor and to someone like yourself probably sounds like an invitation, right? Like that sounds like, okay, I can get this work. Which it was. And so it did work. And I was lucky. With the changes, I really was able to control my symptoms, and I've actually been able to come off medication. Again, it's not a miracle cure. I tell many patients, always stay on your medications. But for me, I was able to come off. So it did.
And I love that, because that story, as you say, it's going to resonate with so many of us, because, I had a similar type of story with my older son when, I like that too. I have no problem with, if that's what we need, conventional drugs, absolutely. But my son was to go on an nebulizer for asthma, but like we made other changes, and thankfully that it worked for us. And there again, I always say I never, I would be very much along the lines when a doctor is needed, we need our doctors, and that's fine.
Yes. And the reality is that looking at the statistics, 70 to 80% of all of our chronic disease is due to lifestyle. When they looked at the leading causes of death, they were due to, 70 to 80% due to our lifestyle. So that still means that 20 to 30% we still do, the Western medications and all are necessary, but a vast majority of the health conditions we're going through have some root in our diet or exercise or stress or sleep or, circadian rhythm and body biorhythms. And so, kind of the next cycle of me developing hacks was when I became pregnant. And
yes.
Which for many women is the first time they're a patient. And I was talking to somebody about my running habit, and that person, being a mother herself, said, oh, you better get ready to give that up, because you're never going to have time to go to the gym once you have children. And I remember thinking, oh, what's going to happen? And
horror stories.
And you hear that a lot. And but I realized she wasn't just being, she wasn't being mean. I was looking at the statistics, and for every child a woman has, her risk of obesity rises by 7%. Women who are moms are statistically more likely to eat poorly, not have time to exercise, sleep, and sleep less. So it's not that moms are the problem, it's that there is a lot they're balancing, and we kind of as a society seem to have accepted, like, okay, being a mom is bad for your health, oh well.
So wow. I love that.
And I was like, we've solved a lot of things in this world. We can solve this. Like, we know how to pee in space. We figured out how to do this. How about we solve this for women right now? And so that's where it came from. So I said, I'm in control. I have this. I've got this when I'm in the ER. I and other moms and other women and everybody need to have that I've got this in their life. So like, how do I take the hacks and that kind of skill of looking for hacks and patterns and protocols in the ER and create them in our real life? And so that's where this has come from.
That's just so phenomenal. And I know, as I say, my second time say it, it's going to resonate with so many people, like chronic pain. Now, one thing I'd love to talk to you about is, is chronic stress. And, what do you think we can do to reduce it? With your hacks? Yeah. I know that's a huge topic, but, in our environment, let's say.
A huge topic. And I see people in the ER with consequences of this. And, a lot of why I started doing media as well is like, I see people and I'm thinking in my head, I wish I could have gotten to you 2, 5, or 10 years ago, because I'd really like to put myself as an emergency room doctor out of business. So that's also why I started creating these, to kind of try to get to people earlier. So chronic stress. And this is really interesting. A lot of what I talk about is we have kind of caveman brain, because our bodies and our brains evolved over millennia. It's just in the last 50 to 100 years of really this industrial era that our environment has changed, and our world and our choices have changed, and our stressors have changed, but our bodies naturally don't evolve that quickly. They haven't kept up. So when it comes to stress, let's talk about what's supposed to happen, because acute stress isn't necessarily bad. I'm sure, Dolores, when you get on air, you have a little bit of a jump of some adrenaline, and like that kind of gets you focused, right? That
Absolutely.
Feels good, right? Mm-hmm. So this is not to say that all stress is bad, because that helps you perform better and do so well with this. but it's the chronic stress. And so acute stress, what's supposed to happen? You have a saber-toothed tiger jump out at you, your cortisol and your adrenaline rise so that you can run, your fight or flight, you run away, you get away. And for those ancestors who didn't get away, they weren't passing on genes anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. Yeah. You get away, you're safe, and everything comes back to normal. Because we can't live up there. That is the problem. And the problem in today's world is that our brain interprets saber-toothed tiger the same way it does tone-deaf email, traffic, a maddening comment by your teenager, and your children or your partner or something. It interprets us all the same way. So you're always staying up here, and it really becomes chronic stress, or what I call the chronic stress disequilibrium. And that's where we get into trouble, because we cannot live up here. When you're up here, it impedes your memory, it impedes your ability to focus. It really even switches us into kind of a fat storage mode, because you can imagine your body saying, something bad's going to happen. I need to store this away so that she can run away. Maybe tomorrow, I don't know when, but let me put it into the stores. And so it really creates problems. So it's how do we get out of that? And sure, part of it is getting rid of some of the stressors, but let's be honest, we can't get rid of traffic, and we can't get rid of teenagers as much as we'd like to. So a lot of it is, how do we learn to deal with that?
That's very interesting. And, there are so many things I could ask you out of that. So, I suppose the way you talked about acute stress, our bodies really we're able to, I suppose, is it as long as we don't continue to even have, a lot of acute stressness, probably not a right word, but, if we have stress sort of on an ongoing base, let's say maybe 2 days out of 7, that's acute still, rather than chronic stress that is someone that's in a high state of alert all the time. Is that right?
I think so. And it really just depends on the person's reaction. I mean, as you know, everybody has a different level of stress that they can tolerate.
Sure.
I mean, what you're doing, going in front of thousands of people to watch you, some people may find that really stressful, too stressful, and then it becomes pathologic for them. For you, it probably activates you. For me in the ER, when everything is, when there's that stressor, I tend to thrive in that. So everybody's different. So I would say, don't base it on the time or the amount, but what your body is doing.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, if it gets to the point that mood-wise, that you're snapping at loved ones and you just have a really short temper, sleep-wise, if you're not sleeping, if whatever the stressors are keeping you awake at night, if they're affecting your kind of self-control in other ways, you find yourself kind of emotionally eating, trying to dull the pain, or just kind of have a mental fog, then it's become a pathologic or non-productive, and it's time to do something, either kind of primary prevention to reduce the stressor in the first place, which we can still do, or secondary, which is to reduce your body's reaction to it. And I have people, we can talk about that now or whenever, kind of like some different things you can do in both primary and secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great topic to discuss if you'd like to, because, stress is one of the, it's such a talked about subject. And I suppose even the difference between the acute and the chronic, and realizing that it isn't just this one thing. If we Google it, we get an answer that it's about different people being unique and handling stressors differently.
Yeah, I think that you are exactly right. And that's a great point. So let's talk about how to do it. Because a lot of people, when I say, your stress level's high, and I will say, well, what do you expect me to do? Like, I can't get rid of traffic. I get that. And there are still things that we are doing that make it worse. One of them is just multitasking. So multitasking, we think we are good I would love to believe that I am a good multitasker. We are not. And in fact, studies show that we actually are not even multitasking. Our brains are just switching back and forth really quickly in between the two. And every time they switch, we burn glucose, we lower our memory, we decrease our productivity by up to 40%, and we increase our rate of error and increase our cortisol. Wow. So multitasking itself, I mean, have you ever done this? I have done this. You're trying to talk to your spouse, you're trying to coordinate something, and trying to, for me, buy something on Amazon. And I ended up like telling him the wrong information. I bought 12 bottles of shampoo that just kept showing up. It's a bad thing. We don't multitask well.
Yes, I know. I could relate to that one because I'm on Twitter. Right? Yes, I have a Twitter hashtag. If I'm on Twitter, I could buy my sons anything or say, yes, you can use the credit card. It's okay. I don't know what to say.
Exactly. Mom, can I have some beer? Sure. Yeah. Hashtag beer. I'm tweeting. Yeah, exactly. Our brains don't do that very well. I find, besides that I play piano, I find the best evidence is when I'm playing piano, I cannot speak. Like if I try to speak, literally, no matter what I try to say, it ends up kind of sounding like gibberish. And so somebody there will be like, what are you, like, why are you suddenly incapable of, why are you speaking in tongues? So our brains don't do that very well. So number one is just, instead of multitasking, is do what I call single tasking. So we think we don't have time. We really actually don't have time to multitask. So block it out. If there's a big project you have to do, because remember, what our brain focuses on is what's in front of us, not what's most important. So, if you have a big project to do, or that thing you've been kind of dreading to do, turn off your phone, turn off your emails, because every time, say you're working, for me, when I was writing my book, writing your book, you're at a tough point, and then suddenly, ooh, Nordstrom sale of puppy coats. Like, oh, yes. I need to buy a coat for my puppy. I don't even have a puppy, but it's a totally point, because now it's going to take, studies show it takes about 15 minutes to get back to that level of engagement that I already was. So turn off everything when you need to focus. That's thing number one. Even if it's just for 25 minutes, kind of the Pomodoro technique is kind of like a secondary part of that. If anybody wants to look up Pomodoro technique, if you just set your timer, it's based off of the old-fashioned food timers, which were tomatoes or Pomodoro. Set your timer for 25 minutes and say, just during this time, I'm just focusing on this. I'm turning off everything else. You really will you'll find some great insights and ideas, because you're like, wow, I actually left some space in my brain for quiet time, and you'll get a lot further.
That's so wonderful. And it's such a simple thing, like, simple when we know, and to be reminded is so wonderful, because I have sometimes got about 8 different tabs open on my computer. Yeah. And I mean, like that, I think I'm concentrating, but I can get distracted by, and if anyone ever says it to me, my son or something, I was like, no, I need them all open,
Yes, no.
But I don't.
Exactly. And a lot of it's crazy, but a lot of the things that make hacks so easy that are in the book are just because I'm kind of accepting that here's the way our body works. Let's stop fighting it, because for the last 15 to 50 years, we've been trying to fight it. Let's say, okay, this is the way it is. So let's just go with it. So when our brains are attracted to novelty, it sees that ping come across, or like that you have 5 tabs up and one of them starts to flash, and all of a sudden, like, ooh, I got a message on Facebook again. We're so attracted to say, okay, I know that. So I'm going to take the next half hour, I'm going to block out 25 minutes, and I'm going to shut everything out. And then I'm going to take 5 minutes, and I'm going to do everything that I want to on Facebook and all those other things and catch up, and then go back out. So that's single tasking, is really focusing on one thing at a time. And you'll notice also that your interactions are better if you're really single tasking. I mean, a second part of that is just putting down our devices. Similarly, our devices cause us to I know, we're so guilty. All of us are so guilty. Our devices cause us to multitask more. And a lot of scientists think that we're all getting kind of dumber. Like, I think I'm getting dumber, and I blame it on my children and my age, but it's probably due to also like our devices. We just reach for them any moment. And studies show that if you're sitting at the table with somebody, if you have your device on the table, even if you're not using it, it impedes engagement and it impedes conversation. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. And it's actually kind of, I think, a bit rude as well. And I mean, I can be guilty of it myself. I'm just thinking, when as you said that out loud, I often would sit at a meal with friends, and I put my phone beside me now, and I won't, I won't necessarily look at it even if notifications come in, but I feel I need it there.
Yeah, I know. What is that? I went to the restroom the other day, and somebody had left their their phone on the toilet. I'm like, really? Are we that level that you cannot go to the bathroom by yourself? Yeah. No, and there are sometimes, there's some caveats. So when I go to a meal and, I don't have my kids with me, I may have the phone up or under my seat, and I just tell the person, I have this in case the babysitter calls. That is the only call I will take. And, kind of acknowledging that. Or sometimes I take notes on my phone, and I've found that when you're doing that, people assume that I'm like tweeting. So, yes. And they think, oh, wow, like, what it feels like, the other person feels like I'm not important to them. Yeah. So while I'll actually acknowledge, like, I'm taking notes on this. Or if I'm home with my child and I do need to plug my phone, we kind of make a rule, you get home, you put away the phones, everybody kind of plugs them away. If I do need to, I'll tell them what I'm doing. So I'm maintaining this engagement so they know that this human-to-human interaction is still the priority, but the phone is the tool. Mm-hmm. And I think people be deliberate about that and remembering it's a great tool, but it's just that. So.
Yeah, that's great. And, that's a good thing, because I'm on this now, and the time I'm doing this call, my 2 children are home from school, and I have told them, please be quiet. I'm on a call, but I will put down my phone, and I actually will leave my phone upstairs when I go down and that's a good hack for me to remember too, to follow through on my word. When I said that I won't, I'll stop and I'll be present with them then, because that's what it is really, isn't it? We can't be present if we don't have and all the magic happens in the present moment.
Exactly. It's so true. And you have children as well. So a really good rule of thumb I will get back into stress for a second, but really good is to role model that for the whole family. So everybody gets home, everybody's phones get plugged in. In terms of sleep, studies have shown that when kids have a device in their room, even if they're not using it, it decreases the amount and quality of sleep they get. So it's really important with teenagers and young children, all of them, the devices all get plugged in and away out of the bedroom. So just a quick thing to try. And it's good. It's getting to put down their phone and talk to you.
Yeah. But it's a culture too, isn't it? And it's so different to, I suppose, and as that's the changing environment, I suppose, that you talk about, the caveman versus the modern, because, that wasn't a problem when I was young. Okay, I'm not that young, but or not that old, I don't know which I'll say, but, we didn't have a mobile phone, so it wasn't a thing that parents had to deal with. But now it's all about, well, everyone's on their phone, and, and it's a cultural thing. It's societal, isn't it? Between mom, I run an online business, so I'm online, and telling my children to get offline.
Mm-hmm. And I think it gets, just like single tasking, it's about creating compartmentalization. We kind of talk about men can compartmentalize more, but actually, again, research shows that people who compartmentalize better tend to be happier and have a lower depression. So I think that gets to kind of like the secondary prevention. So you can lower your stress levels in general, or stressors, with the things we just mentioned. But then let's talk about 80% of the battle is lowering our reaction to it. So think of what with poison ivy. The leaf touches your skin, and actually it's the urushiol, which is a chemical that gets on your skin. So it's hours later or days, you start to have a reaction to it. The poison ivy is gone. Even the chemical is gone. What's causing it? It's your body's overreaction to it. That is what's causing it. It's like holding the anger and the grudge. That's the problem, not whatever somebody said 24 hours ago. So how do you get to that? Again, we're talking caveman brain here. What's our caveman brain? Our caveman brain was for survival. Mm-hmm. So it really took on this assume the negative. Assume that shadow is a saber-toothed tiger or a feuding warlord, because that's necessary for survival. So today's world, you get that ping on your phone, or again, that tone-deaf email, and your fast brain, with Daniel Kahneman, he had won a Nobel Prize for economics, talks about fast and slow brain. And that fast brain is going to assume, ooh, this person meant to really get under my skin with this email. They have it in for me. I don't like them. My work is crazy. And we start this cycle. So it's kind of the secondary is learning how to slow that down and knowing that, that's our human penchant. So how do we do things to combat that? I have a breathing exercise. You want to do a quick breathing exercise?
Love to. Yes, let's do it. Okay.
All of the listeners, I want everybody, put your feet on the floor if you want to, cross-legged. It doesn't matter. It takes 12 seconds. Just be comfortable. Dolores, you can close your eyes, open them. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. All I'm going to do, just so you know, is you're going to breathe in, hold it, out, and hold it. I'm going to lead you through it. So we're going to go breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, and release. That's it. You're done. Do you feel any better?
Gosh, so simple.
Yes, and you probably feel, and that was just one. Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 cycles for my stress levels to lower. But just that first one is enough just to realize how much tension was right there.
Yeah.
Where I carry mine. I'm pointing to my neck for anybody who can't see. That's where I carry it. So that's one thing. When you're in the moment, just do that, because your fast brain is going to rush in and say, this is bad. And you need your slow brain, which is more like your Jiminy Cricket brain. You need it to be able to come in. Again, it's slower, it's quieter. So number one is just kind of recognizing it. Like when you feel that kind of rush come up, you can either try to do the breathing, or you can just, say, is that really true? Like, obvious, or is it like, this is my fast brain acting. Just labeling it. And many people who have this problem, myself included, the first step is just saying, hey, this is my fast brain acting. And sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes you cannot do anymore, but when that happens, okay, so that should trigger me to do the breathing exercise. Or maybe it should trigger me to say, I just need some time. Again, when we're in that fast brain moment, it actually turns off much of our creativity. So you have to be able to say, I need some time, let me step away. And then start to challenge it. Say, is that really true? Does data really show that this person really wants to get it out in form, wants to hurt me or wants to damage my career? Let me try to find some time that they actually helped me. What was a good thing that they did? And another one is to assume positive intent. This is really good for stopping the fast brain. So say you're driving down the highway and driving down, and then some car swerves into you and you have to move into the shoulder to avoid getting hit, and then they swerve all the way across the other lanes, exit, and nearly cut off 3 more cars, nearly causes a massive pileup. You're mad, right? I'm even telling you the story. Maybe some of our listeners are like their hands are kind of white knuckled right now. But what if I told you that instead of that driver being some crazy, irresponsible person who was texting while they were driving, what if I told you instead that it was a mom and that our baby was choking in the back seat and she was trying to get off the highway to save her baby? That changes it, right? So that's assuming positive intent, because we can never get what's in somebody's head. But if we automatic fast brain are probably going to give them a negative motivation, if instead your slow brain can say, is there another motivation? Maybe they're operating out of fear or vulnerability or something else. If you can just bring in a little bit of positive intent, that's your slow brain, that's oxytocin, that's going to let you see it from an entirely different way. It's going to lower your stress levels, and it's also going to help the situation.
That's wonderful. I love that. I love that changing the story around, because it's true, and I talk about that in the lot of the work I do as well, about, we don't always know the other person's story.
Never do. That's so true. You do not always know the other person's story. I love that. Yeah,
no, it's fantastic, and it's great. It's great. It's great to be reminded of it especially when we're talking in this conversation about stress and that, because I can totally relate to that, the swerving of the cars in and out, because anyway. We've all been in that situation, I think.
Physical change, doesn't it? Just thinking that story. So another thing I want all of our, because all of our listeners today, all of us, we hear this and we think, oh, well, that's great. I'm going to do that breathing exercise. And then we go off on our day and we don't do it for weeks. I did that. So anybody who's listening, any of these hacks we talk about, I usually say, choose one that I mentioned today, write it on a Post-it note, or, write it on the back of on your screen. Put it somewhere you're going to see it, so you remind yourself. So it's kind of a cue. Maybe if you want to do, just write breathe and put it on your computer at work, so that you remind yourself when you get stressed out, oh yeah, that breathing exercise. Again, we're human, we forget. So make that be something. So anybody who's listening, write down on a Post-it what you want to do.
And I'm definitely going to use the positive intention one. Definitely.
Yeah, perfect. Another one you should possibly try, maybe you already do this, Dolores, because you seem to kind of know a lot of these things. This is one that I had to try doing for stress, is gratitude. So Martin Seligman and Sean Aker, both are kind of positivity, happiness researchers, and they've both found that for most of us, we kind of have a happiness set point. Something great happens, you get euphoric for a while, but after a while, you just kind of move your goals, right? And then you become back to your happiness set point. And so they also call it the hedonic treadmill. So that's usually based on genetics and environment, but Sean Aker's research found that at night, morning, doing a habit of finding 3 new things to be grateful for every single day and writing them down for 21 days was able to change people from being a low-grade pessimist to a low-grade optimist. So we can, in fact, change our brain by the thoughts we have. And again, you can allow your fast brain to just control them, which is going to be largely negative, or we can learn to kind of bring in this slow brain. And when we intentionally choose those thoughts, they're going to tend to be positive. And if you're saying every night, I got to write down 3 new thankful things, what you do start to do during the day, you start kind of scanning around for what's some good stuff happening so I can write down, and it changes your mentality. I've been doing this for a long time, and sometimes I'm really good at it and sometimes I forget. I've been doing this recently, and I was walking through the airport in Atlanta, having kind of done this gratitude exercise that morning. I was smiling everyone like a fool. Like, yes. I probably thought I was hitting on him because I was smiling. So it's good. And it doesn't mean that there is not bad in our lives. We all have struggles, and it's not going to make anything go away. It doesn't make the ER suddenly all my patients happy and pain-free and that nothing crazy ever comes in. It just means you can handle it. It means you've got that, I've got this, a little bit better.
And that's wonderful. And I think your energy is so wonderful. And it's a breath of fresh air to hear someone from the ER department even, talking like this. I really do think it's wonderful, and it's a great combination to have. And even your website has wonderful energy with your recipes and that. You know, it's lovely to go to drdarria.com, you know.
Thank you. And that's Darria with 2 R's, because there are some people with 1 R. So make sure Dr. with Darria. But thank you. And I love doing this. And I love, most of all, you know, I love interacting with my patients one-on-one. And then when you hear from people and they say, you know, this was life-changing, or this really helped my whole family, like, that's why I do it. That's what feels so good. And so thank you very much.
And it makes you look, and it makes you a happier person, as you say. And, you know, you come across a very grounded. Now, I know we all have our own moments, but it's great. And I suppose it's that positive intention that you spoke about earlier is so wonderful. Yes, of course I talk about this in my own work, but sometimes I need to hear it too, you know.
We all need to. And I have to say, like, you know, maybe people watching like, well, of course it's easy for her. You know, I am by nature not a Pollyanna person. I am a worrier, and I am let's plan everything out, because the worst is going to happen. I mean, that's what we also learn to do in the ER is, like, you come in with a headache. Well, what's going to kill you? Is it a tumor or a bleed? Let me see. So it's not to say that, oh, yay, I'm a puppies and flowers kind of person. I have to work at this.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, that's why I think I am a good person to talk about it, because it's not always easy. And it's most likely often hard. And so that's why this stuff is so important. But once you start getting in a little habit and you kind of see how these things kind of work as a gateway drug, you start to realize how these little changes make a big difference. And then you go back and do them more.
Fantastic. You know, and yeah, I mean, I think the way I always say it is if that's our own journey, and if we are a worrier or whatever, and we've found these ways, these hacks to get over it, we then have the medicine to share with other people.
Yes.
You know, and I love that. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's more real and authentic when someone has actually been on that journey themselves, because we really can empathize with people, and we can really say to people, you know, perhaps, you know, it's okay if you don't get it straight away. Just keep working on it, or make this tweak. Now, I also love the fact that you, like, you a lot of your work is science-based shortcuts as well, you know, and I think that is very good.
That is so, Dolores, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, you know, I am a physician first. I did my training at Harvard and Yale. So yes, everything from an evidence-based gold standard, that is so important. I mean, I've also seen a lot of patients and that's also why I wanted to go into media, because you see people and people are hungry for answers, and they try a lot of things, which at best don't yield any benefit, and at worst can be really harmful. And so I really wanted to kind of go on a crusade of sorts at times to kind of clean up some of those and say, yes, you can have answers. And yes, you can integrate a lot of things from integrative medicine, holistic, and Eastern medicine into the lessons we have from Western medicine. But I'm only going to give it to you if I know it's going to help. And so I think that's really important, that it's trustworthy. I only talk about things because I know that science shows they can work.
And that's phenomenal, and it's great. It really is. I said it again, but it is. But also, you know, at this stage, would you like to tell us about your book that you're launching next year? Very exciting. Mom Hacks.
Mom Hacks, exactly. And you know what they say? You teach what you need to learn. So again, like, I'm doing this not because I got it all figured out. I mean, I was walking out of the airport with my toddler the other day, and I managed to walk the entire length of the airplane with people in each seat, all the way to the front, because we were sitting all the way in the back. And finally, the person at the row 11 told me that I had his dirty diaper stuck. The Velcro was stuck to my sweater. So I definitely, this is to say that I do not have it all figured out.
Lovely.
I was like, God bless you for telling me. What's wrong with the other 38 rows of people that nobody told me? So, you know, we all have, you know, I was writing the stress chapter, and as I was writing the stress chapter, my infant got sick. I had to take him to the ER. Our house flooded. My father-in-law was diagnosed with an illness. The babysitter quit. Everything happened all at once. And my stress chapter was late. And I was like, you know, universe, I get the lesson. Got it. And so all of those were like, what moms are so busy. Women are so busy. And that's an important thing to note, is that, you know, 80 to 85% of the book is going to resonate with everybody, whether you're a mom or a woman or a man or anything. It's helpful for everybody. There's about 15% of it that is child specific and parenting specific. So that really can be a one-stop shop for a woman who is a mom, but it really resonates. You know, these same lessons I'm giving, they work for every single person. But every one of us, we have too much to do and not enough time. That's true. Is that how do I find solutions to that to make it easier, to make them healthier, happier, and feeling better and less stressed? Those are the goals. And so the point of the hacks, there's 110, and I know that nobody has time to read. Nobody reads full books anymore unless they're like Harry Potter or something. So the point is you can go in and you can choose whichever hack you want. Maybe you say, I want to work on nutrition, or this person's not ready to change their diet, but they want to work on sleep or stress. That's fine. It's choose your own adventure. Each hack is about 300 to 500 words. You can go through the contents and say, okay, that's what I want to work on today. You read that. And the goal is if all you ever read is that single hack and you do that, you will feel better.
Wow, that's phenomenal. It really is. That you can, and that's great, because you're right. I mean, I buy books and I pick, I pick what I want out of them, but I don't know when I finished. It's been a while since I've finished a book.
You don't have to finish it, and I won't hold it against you. In fact, if you come and say, I only did 5 hacks, but this is how they changed my life, I'm thrilled. My job is done. So that's the point. Everybody has different things that they're struggling with. And also what you may be struggling with today, save the book, because maybe in 2 years you're having a different issue. So that's fine. It's a great reference on the go, really easy, digestible, because we don't have time to read anything longer. So that's the point.
And you talk about it too as helping a mom be unstoppable, and that goes back, I suppose, then to our beliefs as well, and what we're believing and what our thoughts are going on in our head. That we believe we can't be, or we believe that we have to be perfect, or all this whole bar that's up there that's really like never doable, because there's no such thing as being perfect.
It's so true. And that's the I've got this, that's the unstoppable, is knowing it's not perfect. It's not the have it all. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what having it all means or something. Unless it means having all the good Christmas presents and everything else. But let's be honest, like, life is a little more messy. That's okay. Knowing that, like, I've got this, you can be unstoppable, because it's not the perfection. Because when we try to be perfect, then anything that's short of that perfection and short of that fantasy, we see as a failure. So I had my second child, and when I was 37 weeks pregnant with him, and I thought I'd done everything right, and he stopped moving. So I went into the doctor, and they did an ultrasound, and they said, he's not moving. You need to do a C-section. And still I'm like, okay, sure, I'll be here for a while. And they said, no, actually, you're going to get a C-section in an hour.
Okay.
So that wasn't my plan. I didn't plan for him to be born at 37 weeks, smaller than I expected. He was smaller than my first child. I spent a solid first week or two missing the little preciousness in front of me because I was too busy blaming myself. I was like, what did I do? Well, Sunday I walked 12,000 steps. I probably screwed it up. And now I've messed up my child for the rest of his life. And finally I was like, what am I doing? He's perfect. So it didn't meet my perfect plan, but he is perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with the perfect fantasy. Because again, if it falls short of it, then we just blame ourselves, especially as moms. As moms, like, we blame ourselves for everything. So instead, see, and being able to be present and see that and saying, like, okay, perfect was for when I was 17 and I thought that this would all be perfect. Let's be real now. Let's be present. And I think when people say that, enjoy this time, I think they're just talking about just be present. And if you're worried about perfect, it keeps you out of present.
That's so wonderful. And so let us know how we can get our hands on this wonderful book, Mom Hacks.
So for one, it's on pre-order. So you can go to drdarria.com. Again, doctor is DRDARRIA.com/momhacks. If you go there, you'll find all the different places you can get it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a lot of different places you can pre-order it. Or you can just go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and search for Mom Hacks or search for my name. Then we're doing some really cool pre-order stuff because, none of us do this. Yes, none of us solve this on our own. I have my favorite services and products and different things that make my life easier or healthier or less stressful. So we're slowly kind of garnering some partnerships so that if you go, once you buy it, wherever you buy it, take your receipt number, go back to that drdarria.com/momhacks on the bottom. There is a button. Right now, we're just having you email your receipt. We're going to be changing that up. But if you send that in, I kind of put you in our pre-orderer database. And you'll get some coupons now, and then you'll get more as we really build that up. And kind of that marketplace of things we all need to be healthier and less stressed. So really excited about those partnerships and really creating those tools for everybody out there who wants to buy the book.
Sounds fantastic. I'll definitely be putting an order in for Mom Hacks myself.
Yay.
Yeah, I will share the link as well anyway. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before you leave us? Or Have we?
No, Dolores, I think this has been absolutely wonderful. And, I feel like you and I could just keep talking for hours.
Yes, I know that.
And I think, I think all of us, again, it comes down to the hacks don't make our world perfect. The hacks make you able, because you cannot control what life throws at you, but the hacks in the system helps you be able to catch it versus get pummeled by it. And I try to tell everybody, your best and your best years are still ahead of you. You just have to start. So choose one hack today, just one. Choose it, start it, and then you too can have that I've got this feeling that we all need to have.
Oh, I love it. I really do love it. It's great. It's been an absolute pleasure. So I would also say to people, there are plenty of videos on your website you're on the Dr. Oz show. We never mentioned that. But, I watched all of those. And it's great to hear you imparting the information in the way that you do there again. It's science-based, it's factual, it's honest, it's authentic, and it's great. So if people want to go on to Dr. Darria with 2 R's, and I will have the link, they can see your appearances on Dr. Oz.
And they can sign up for the newsletter as well, which we're restarting now again. So they can just sign up for that at the top, put their email address in. And yes, it's all science-based, but actionable. Reassurance, and telling you, here's the 2 things, here are the 3 things you need to know and do.
Fantastic. Listen, thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. So looking forward to sharing this with our global community of health and wellness people. We all love some hacks in this community. So thanks again, Dr. Darria.
Thank you, Dolores. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.